Hey guys, time for the new Q&A. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I'm going to try and streamline it a little bit better. I'm not going to read out the questions or anything. I actually just took screenshots of all the questions and everything to just make it a little easier so you guys can just read them instead of listening to me talk and talk and talk and talk. Some of the questions were repeats, somewhat. So I kind of just chose one over the other in some of the instances. Um, and I didn't get to all the questions. I mean, I have a list of 33 right now that I'm going to knock out. And hopefully you guys enjoy. And if I didn't answer your question, sorry. Like I said, I can't answer them all, or I'd be here forever. And maybe I'll do another Q&A, in a month or two or three or whatever. We'll see. You guys seem to like them, so, I'll try and keep everybody happy. First question. Um, I've been really getting into smaller acts, a lot more. I've been doing a lot of surfing through sites like Bandcamp and a little bit of SoundCloud here and there, and finding some bands that are really worth listening to. Like I started listening to Cloud Kicker a couple months ago. He's really great. I found him through Bandcamp. Tosca is great. I've been waiting and waiting for that new EP, and no clue why it's still not released because they've had it for sale, hard copies for sale at their shows for a while now, and they just won't release it online, and it's kind of annoying. Um, but yeah, I tend to gravitate more to those bands that aren't huge, because everybody knows the huge bands. Um, if I haven't liked them by now, I probably won't like them if they're big. So I don't know. I try and find bands that are similar to other bands that I like that are just starting out. Bands that I can support. Give them my money now, help them out. That sort of thing. Next question. My favorite strat would probably be. Oh, man, that's a tough one. I really like the white one. The white one that had like the triangles. Um, God. And I really like the orange one too. The orange subsonic. So probably one of them. I mean, I like them all for different reasons. They remind me of different time periods, um, and they remind me of different songs. So I mean, they're all cool in their own ways. But yeah, one of those two I'd probably have to go with. Next question. Best guitar I've ever played is actually right behind me. It's my PRS. I love that thing. Um, and I don't know. A lot of it probably has to do with the neck shape. I just love the neck shape. It's a very comfortable guitar, and I don't know. I just love that thing. I can't put it down. As far as worst guitar, I played a 9 string at Guitar Center. That was pretty horrendous, but it wasn't as bad as another guitar I played at Guitar Center, which was a Stripe series by EVH. So it was like a Van Halen replica. It was actually the white and black one. And the only reason that one was so bad was because it needed a setup so bad. And I guarantee if a tech had looked over it for, an hour, filed the fret ends and set it up and, made sure it was actually playing the way it was meant to be played, then it would be great. But because that wasn't the case, I'm sure they'll never sell that damn guitar. So, next question. I don't really care about Weezer that much. I mean, I feel like a lot of people seem to think that I'm a huge Weezer fan. I don't know where that kind of came from. I mean, I know I do some covers here and there, or I'll do like a little name that riff with one of their songs. But they're one of those bands. They're like a radio band for me that just has good hits. All their other songs are usually not that great, but I will say I do like the album Make Believe quite a lot. Um, but other than that, most of their albums only have like one or two good songs on it, in my opinion. Um, so no, I don't really care about the new Weezer album at all. If a new single comes out and I happen to catch it and I like it, great. But it still won't make me want to listen to the whole album because I won't be expecting anything that great. That's just how it goes. Next question. I'm kind of hoping that it feels cohesive. The last Blink album just did not feel very cohesive. I mean, Dogs Eating Dogs was fine. I liked it. But Neighborhoods really just felt disconnected. I know I've said that plenty of times. And I just hope that it sounds like a group effort. And judging by, the pictures of them all being in the studio at the same time and um, them putting in, 12-hour days here and even longer there, I'm expecting it to be pretty good. I mean, at least I don't think it's going to be rushed. I don't feel like it's going to sound like they just threw a couple songs together and just sent it out the door. I think they really want it to sound as great as it possibly can. I do like Matt's singing voice a lot. Um, so, I'd love an equal involvement from him and Mark. I mean, the past couple albums have really been dominated by Tom vocally, so I'd love to hear more Mark. But I'm very interested to see how they fit together. I'd like some guitar riffs. I know that Matt isn't really the type of player that writes catchy riffs. He just kind of just strums guitar. He's mostly just a strummer, and that's fine. It works for Alkaline Trio and his other bands, but I think Blink needs something a little more catchy in the guitar department, but I don't know. We'll see. Next question. Um, I've kind of got some different ideas going on right now. I've got like three songs that are tentatively done, at least in like a rhythm aspect. I haven't gotten drums or bass or lead parts written for anything really. Um, but I've got a couple ideas going. I'm not going to tease anything just yet. Maybe later down the road when I have, excuse me, something a little more concrete to offer because things could change by a couple months from now anyway. Um, but I'm feeling pretty happy with what I have so far. Um, I got one song that's I know I've showed before. It's a slower, like acoustic-y kind of song that has mostly just picking in it. I know I showed off that song in the review I did of the EBO of this thing here, little EBO Plus or whatever. So I mean, I guess that's kind of a tease. I mean, you can listen to that. I don't know how it'll end up, but I do want to use that in some aspect. I have a song that's kind of like, if I was going to compare it to any of my older songs, it would kind of sound similar to Haste a little bit. Um, but I think it's a little faster and it's a little heavier too. And then I have another one that's really slow, actually. It's probably the slowest song that either I've ever written or that I've written in a very long time. And it's very simple. It doesn't have, the verse, chorus, bridge, outro sort of structure. It's got a very, I don't even know how to explain it. It's very simple as of right now. All I really have is like a verse and a chorus kind of thing that just kind of works together pretty well. I guess I kind of have a bridge that just ends. Um, so I don't know. That song could really be transformed by the time it's done. I don't know. Um, I'd like to write at least one more. I don't know if I'll end up having four, five, six, however many songs. I don't really know. So we'll see. Next question. I personally love the bare knuckle crawler. I had one in a strat. It was a swamp ash strat actually. So maybe that's why you don't like it. I think the Jazzmaster modern players are alder probably. But that shouldn't be a huge difference. If you really like the Invader, I would definitely suggest the bare knuckle war pig. I have one in my Evertoon strat, and it's very similar to the Invader in the sense that it's very powerful. It has a lot of low end, and it's pretty tight. It's a tight sound, so chugging and stuff like that works really great. Um, I will say that the ceramic version of the Warpig is probably your way to go, just because the Invader is the ceramic pickup. But I personally have the Alnico 5. The Alnico 5 won't be as harsh and it won't be quite as tight as the ceramic one. That's just the characteristics of the magnets, really. But you can see the differences between them by going on the bare knuckle site. Um, but I mean, if you don't want to go with bare knuckle and you like an Invader, then just put a fucking Invader. And I mean, they're cheaper. Um, and if you know what you like, then just go with it. You know, I personally don't like the Invader. I used to love it until I tried out some other pickups and realized just how terrible I thought it was. So if you like it, I'm sure it'll sound. It'll work fine in a Jazzmaster. I mean, it's not like it's going in a Les Paul or something that won't really suit it well. So I don't know. Either a Warpig or an Invader, I think you'll be happy. But I guarantee the Warpig will be a lot clearer. It'll have a lot better clarity, and it's just a beast of a pickup. It really is. Next question. Okay. Square strats are kind of junky to begin with. I mean, you can set them up and get some different electronics and pickups and whatever, and it'll definitely be an improvement. A JB will work fine in a strat. Tuners, I mean, yeah, I would get maybe some locking tuners or just something better in general. But as long as you wrap it good, wrap the strings good on the post, you don't need locking tuners. Um, but yeah, I doubt the Squire hardware is really going to be that great. Maybe even consider getting some new saddles too. I do like putting upgraded saddles on my guitars. Something maybe like a Graph Tech or Tusk or something. I've used a few different ones and definitely like them more than most. Just straight steel. So it's worth checking out. Next question. It's entirely up to the content owner. Um, so I could put up a cover of, let's say a Foo Fighters song or something, and if the content owner of that song says, "Yeah, you can put this up," but sometimes my videos are available everywhere, but they're for some reason they won't be available in like Germany for whatever reason. I don't remember what company it is that doesn't let Germany listen to my covers, or just certain videos from certain bands. I don't know. But it has nothing to do with me. I don't change those settings or anything. And there are a lot that make copyright claims, but still let my video be watchable on desktop. But for some reason, they'll just not let it be available on mobile. And frankly, I have no idea why. and I can't really do anything about it, and I'm not going to try to do anything about it, just in case it affects my account negatively. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's nothing I can really do about it. Sorry. Next question. Um, I mean, I go through phases. When I was growing up, I was huge into metal and classic rock, and I definitely liked those things a lot at the time, and I still do, but not the same way that I used to. And then I went to my my pop punk alternative phase, and that was all I was really into for a long time. And now I'm getting really into the instrumentals and some more complex stuff. And I don't dislike the stuff that I used to just because I like these new things. Mostly, I just don't like the changes that are being made in the whole pop punk genre. The new bands, almost all of them, I just think are garbage. It's simple. It's a simple formula to make a pop punk song. I could shit out a pop punk song in 30 minutes if I really wanted to. Um, and a lot of bands are jumping on that bandwagon and doing pretty well for themselves. And even some of those bands that have been around for a while are kind of taking the easy route, I think, or at least being influenced by those newer bands, and just kind of steering away from what they used to be and the way that they used to sound, and it just doesn't really do it for me. Um, I mean, I don't think it really has anything to do with the lyrics specifically. I mean, lyrics are usually one of the last things that I really care about, unless they're just straight up awful. Um, as long as they're not terrible, I'm fine with most lyrics. Um, and fast melodic music, I mean, I love fast melodic music. It's just, it really depends on a lot of different things. So, I don't know. It's really just not the best genre right now. I think that the the bands that made it great have either died out or changed, and the replacements just aren't worth listening to. So that's about all I got for that. Next question. I've definitely mentioned this before, but I know a lot of you are curious. They came out with a couple terrible albums, and just because Dave's back doesn't just instantly make me super excited for the new album. Because Dave is back, I will check it out just because he was one of my favorite guitar players growing up, and he's still a great guy, and I'm sure he's still a great guitar player. Um, if Dave wasn't back in the band, I wouldn't even give a single shit about them working on a new album. Derek, I think he's a washed up fool. He almost killed himself from over drinking because he's being a little bitch because Avril left him or whatever reason. I mean, granted, who wouldn't be upset for over him leaving, over her leaving him for fucking Chad Kroger, because that's a kick in the balls right there. But I don't know. That's besides the point. I'll check out the album, but I'm not exactly expecting greatness because Steve's not in the band anymore. That's a big thing. He was a great drummer, and the vocal parts that he did have were great. And I don't know. There's hope, but I'm not holding my breath. Next question. I've heard a couple Finch songs, but I've never really been blown away by them. Um, what the hell was that song? What It Is to Burn was okay. I didn't mind that song when it came out. Um, I vaguely remember Letters to You, but other than that, I don't know much from them at all. And this, if my friend Eric is watching, he's probably gonna be disappointed, but I do not like Faith No More at all. I can't stand them. I've only heard a couple songs, and they're just not for me. Their style is just not what I get into. Um, sorry. Next question. Um, honestly, it wouldn't be Simple Plan. No chance. Green Day, probably not either. Um, frankly, I wouldn't want to be the rhythm guitarist in general. I'd rather be a lead guitarist. Um, but for rhythm, 4 Year Strong would probably be the funnest, but probably the most difficult one. Blink would be fun too. I don't know. Next question. My biggest inspiration right now is probably Grant Henry, who goes by Stemage online. I love the music that he writes, and it's just something about the style that he writes and just how he takes something, like if he's doing a cover of something, and just transforms it just immensely, is just super inspiring. And I don't know. I don't think I'll ever stop being inspired by him. Um, Also, Pliny. I'm a huge Pliny fan, and every time I hear any of his work, it just makes me want to go and record some music. So those are probably the two main ones. Next question. Um, I don't honestly know anything from Fly Swatter. I never cared to learn any of it. I've only maybe listened to that whole thing through like once or twice. Um, I don't really know much from Buddha, and I probably could half-ass my way through Cheshire Cat, but I'd probably forget a lot of stuff. Um, I know most of anything from like Dude Ranch and on, pretty well. I mean, I haven't played any of it in years, but I could probably figure out 80 to 90% of it, just on the first time through. Boxcar Racer, I know that like the back of my hand. Transplants, who gives a fuck about the Transplants? Plus 44, I never really learned most of that album on guitar. It just wasn't very fun of a guitar album. Angels and Airwaves, I know some stuff. I mean, not a ton, but I'd say maybe like a quarter of the songs I at least learned at one point, and I probably remember, a handful of them. That's about it. Next question. One guitar. Um, it would be a PRS. I love Paul Reed Smith. It would probably be one with a rosewood neck. Um, just because it's faster. It's not as sticky. If it's got like a painted neck or anything like that, or like a glossy neck, it's harder to play faster, especially with chord changes. Um, I mean, I could say my Paul Reed Smith. I mean, it doesn't have a rosewood neck, but um, something like that. Um, yeah, some sort of high end Paul Reed Smith. An amp, I could say my Mesa Electrodyne. I really, really like that amp, but I also really like Friedman amps too. like the BE 100. That's the only one I've personally played. So I'll go with either that or the Mesa. Um, and two pedals, I'd probably just go with a noise suppressor, just to kill the hum, and a boost pedal, like a Ibanez Tube Screamer or something similar to that. Not doesn't have to necessarily be the Tube Screamer, because to be honest, I have been wanting to try some other boost pedals to kind of um, give that sort of push when I want it. That doesn't really have like the mid-range boost that the Ibanez Tube Screamer has. Um, like the Spark, which I think is by TC Electronic. There's some other brands. Like I'd like to try the Eternity Burst, I think it's called, by Love Pedal, but they're kind of pricey. I am interested in trying the new Friedman pedals though. Those look great. Next question. Um, I definitely think choosing the right cab is important. If you're going to be playing mostly punk metal, I mean, orange would be a great choice. I did a lot of research on this when I ended up buying my orange cab a couple years ago, and the reason I went with that, and I went with the closed back version too, um, not the open back, was because it's a little thicker construction, and a lot of people were comparing that with a Mesa and saying that it had a little bit more low end, um, and I love the vintage 30 speakers in most oranges. Not all oranges have them. Um, Mesas sometimes have V30s, I believe. Sometimes they have C90s, I think, and there could be some other ones. I actually have a C90, I'm pretty sure, in my cab, and it works great. I mean, it'll definitely work with the Mesa well. But when I was using my rectifier through the orange, it was a great combo. But you could also consider getting, you know, one of those cabs and, mixing speakers. I don't know if, yeah, he didn't say what size cabinet. If you wanted like a 212 or a 412, but I would consider mixing speakers. Say like a V30 and like a creamback or something like that. A lot of people like that, or even a greenback. Um, so consider, mixing speakers, or at least consider what speakers are in them. So yeah, I really do like the orange. Um, but I haven't personally, I played through a Mesa once, um, and it sounded good. I didn't have any complaints, but I didn't really have a lot of time to sit down and really put it through its paces. So I don't know. I don't think you'd really be upset if you chose, a Mesa or an orange, but Marshall's a bit different from those two, so I don't know. It could add a little bit of a different style to it. I don't know, but I can't really comment on Marshall cabinets that much either. So that's about all I got. I was cut off. Next question. Can't stand Guns N' Roses. Fucking hate them. Most people that have been following me for a while probably know that by now. I can't stand Axl Rose. I think he's a douche. I think Slash is a great guitar player, but I think he's incredibly overrated. Um, you know, there's plenty of better guitar players out there than him. Personally, I realize it's all personal preference, but I don't think he's nearly worth the amount of praise that the average Joe gives him. I mean, he's just kind of in the spotlight, and a lot of people that don't know much about guitars just say that he's the best, you know, and I kind of think that's bullshit. Um, but yeah, I don't listen to Guns N' Roses. I don't like them. Motley Crue. I was actually listening to some Motley Crue today. I kind of forgot about them. I haven't listened to them in years. I like some of the older songs, like Too Young to Fall in Love and Looks That Kill and stuff like that. Some of the later stuff, you know, I could kind of take or leave. But, you know, some of the early stuff is good. Next question. I just don't have the patience for drums. Even recording, even learning how to like program drums is a pain in the ass, and I don't like learning how to do that either. I vaguely know how to do it, you know, a little bit, but I just don't have a drummer mindset in me, and I don't know if I ever will, personally. I get this question a lot. I don't really care for it as a whole, mostly because you know the lyrics are usually pretty bad, and you know they usually say the same sort of things in almost every song. Um, they're usually a little too simple for me. You know, I like more melodies. They're usually a bit harsher. They're usually more straightforward and kind of angry. Um, I like a little bit of happiness in my music personally. Um, and frankly, a lot of those older bands, the production on those albums just suck. And I love a good production value. You know, I like it to sound like they actually spent some money and put effort into making the album sound good, you know, making the drums sound better, the guitars work together better, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't really care for the older punk scene, but it's not like I hate it, you know, it's just not something that I really go out of my way to personally listen to. If it's on the radio, then yeah, whatever, fine, but I don't know. It's not something I ever just think I want to listen to that, you know. Next question. I will get Blink 182 questions until the day I die. I guarantee it. Um, I've only played a handful of Orange amps, as you probably know. I did not like the TH30. It's definitely more of a sludgy kind of tone. It's great for like grungy rock and stoner rock, that kind of thing. A lot of those types of bands use the TH30 and the TH100s, but I did not like it. Um, I tried the Dual Terror, which sounded pretty cool. You know, it had a good, clean sound, and the crunch sound was pretty good, but it didn't have much of a real gainy sort of sound that I wanted. I never owned one though. The CR120 was pretty good. It was great for the money. You know, it was reliable for a solid state amp. So I always suggest that for people on a budget. Um, I tried some Dark Terrors and I loved them. I don't know if I ever tried the Jim Root Terror. I don't think I did, but the Dark Terror is pretty sweet. And I'd love to have like one of the dual darks, like the Dual Dark 50 or something. That'd be really cool. Um, and I tried an OR 15, which was really great. I did like that a lot. So I imagine I would probably like, you know, any of the ORs, like the OR 50 or OR 100. Um, I don't listen to the story so far. I've done like a cover or two just to have on the channel for people that really wanted them, but I have absolutely no intention of covering any more. Um, as you could probably notice, I don't really do that many covers at all anymore, and just because I don't have the time, I try to put the time towards other things. You know, growing up, you know, it's just kind of how it happens, how it goes. So the likelihood of me covering a song from a band I don't listen to is slimmer than hell. um, Maybe I'll do another one of those things where, if you buy my EP, you can choose whatever song you want and I'll cover it or do a lesson or whatever. That I wouldn't turn down. If you wanted me to do a Story So Far song or whatever, I'll do one. But I have, no intention of even listening to any of their stuff. I just never really cared for it. Mojo Tone pickups. Never used them, but the reviews I have heard of them were good. But I can't personally comment on them. So, next question. I started, I think in June. I started in June of 2014, and the album came out September something of last year. So it took about 15 months. It was a long process for 5 songs, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. Next question. Yes, I'm still in Massachusetts. I did move, but yeah, it wasn't, a very long distance away from where I was. I haven't really played that many fuzz pedals. I actually have one that I'm borrowing from a friend that I'm going to be doing a demo on soon. I'd love to get a ZVEX Fuzz Factory one of these days. They seem really great. And I do like hearing fuzz, in certain songs, like Queens of the Stone Age or Muse or, any of those sort of bands. When they use that, I think it's really great. But I personally haven't used much fuzz, at all. I'd love to, though. Next question. If I was going to pick a favorite, it would probably be Brand New Eyes. But there are definitely songs on other albums that I like more than ones on Brand New Eyes. It's just as a whole, I'd probably pick that one. But yeah, I don't really listen to them anymore. I probably could, and I wouldn't really mind it, but I don't know. I was just kind of over it personally. The last album was just a disappointment. Next question. I don't like them. I just don't like Marshall amps. It's just everyone that I've played has just sounded fizzy and lacked a fullness. Anytime I've played like a Marshall, like a JCM, or one of the cheaper models like the MGs, or even some other ones, I've never ever gotten a good tone out of them. And there's plenty of people that do get great tones out of them, but I don't know. I'm kind of over it. And I know I do say I love Friedmans, and Friedmans are basically based on Marshall tones. That's fine. I'd still love to try a Marshall, like a super lead, something like a really old one. I'm sure those old amps sound good, when they're working properly, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever own another Marshall in my life. Next question. I didn't mix any of the EP myself. I had that all done from a friend, or by a friend, who goes by Stemage. I mentioned him earlier in the video. I don't know what he uses for the whole setup. I mean, I recorded all my guitars either through the Jam Up app on my iPad. I did all the guitars for My Fingers Hurt and Valor were on that. Were recorded with that, and then the other 3 songs were recorded with the Axe-Fx Ultra that I still have. Grant, Stemage, was the one that did all the bass. He made all the drums. I know he programmed all the drums using Steven Slate drum sounds. I have no clue what he did for his bass sound, but his bass sound was amazing. I love the bass that he did. And mixing, I mean, I know he uses the DAW Reaper. If you don't know what a DAW is, it's a digital audio workplace or workspace. Um, I assume he did all the mixing in that, but I really have no idea. You could ask him if you want to. You know, you can find him on Facebook or YouTube or anything. That's about all I can really answer, though. Next question. Um, I mean, to kind of combine what you're saying, um, the modeling thing is great because it gives you a lot of options in, the price of one unit. Instead of buying, a Marshall head and a Mesa head and an orange, you can just buy one unit for, a good amount of money and have as many options as you could ever want. I'm still using an older version of Axe-Fx. I just have the Axe-Fx Ultra, but the amount of sounds I can get out of it are more than I've ever gotten out of anything. So it's definitely here to stay, I think. You really can't beat the sound of a real amp and the feel of a real amp, when you're in the room. I mean, I know a lot of people like using Axe-Fx's and stuff through cabs, and they can sound great too. But I don't know. It's really about what suits you better for your needs. Not everybody needs a cab or needs a ton of options. It's really up to each person. As for bias, I mean, I don't know a lot about bias. I mean, I can't really comment on that. Um, but I hear good things about it. I mean, I know that doesn't really help your answer, but maybe check out some forums or something, or some guitar forums. They might have a better answer for you. A couple of my friends use bias, but I don't know. Axe-Fx is great. Bias, I'm sure, works great too, but yeah, I really don't know. I haven't used it. Next question. I love to really help out bands, especially bands that are doing everything themselves, bands that are unsigned and completely indie. I really appreciate the amount of work that goes into putting out music. So that's why I don't like to just go out and, just download everything. I feel like it's really hurting the people that put in the amount of time, and it's $10 for an album or even less is totally worth it, if you like the band. So I don't know. I don't personally think people should do it. I mean, it's obviously killing the industry. Next question. um I have no clue. Honestly, if you asked me that 5 years ago, I'd probably have an answer for you, and it'd probably be Blink or something. But these days, I have no idea. I really don't. Um, I don't know. I kind of don't want to be the guitarist in one of those bands. At the same time, any of my favorite bands, it would take away from the magic of those bands. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't mind starting a band with, band members that I've listened to for years, but I wouldn't necessarily want to take someone's place in an already existing band, you know what I mean? So, that's about all I can really say about that. Next question. I don't follow sports Not even a little bit. I know my friends have really gotten into fantasy football the last year or two. So, sometimes we'll go and hang out and they'll be watching, the games or something. If we'll go to like a sports restaurant or, sports bar or whatever, where there's multiple TVs, they'll all be like watching different games and whatever, so they can see what's going on for everything. And it's fine. I don't mind watching football or baseball or hockey or whatever, but I have absolutely no interest in sports. I just don't have the time to really give a shit about sports, because I'm always thinking about music and I'm always thinking about different bands or guitars. I'm always fucking thinking about guitars. It's a goddamn curse. I'm always looking at what I can spend money on and trade, and I don't know. So I just don't really think about sports personally. I used to be a big baseball fan, though. I did follow the Atlanta Braves for a long time when I was younger, but yeah, that kind of stopped once all my favorite players were traded to other teams or retired. So that's about it. Next question. It's just not very well produced. I know I mentioned that sort of thing earlier when talking about the early punk stuff. I just don't think the music writing is as good as some of the older albums or as some of the newer albums. I mean, when I say I prefer the newer albums, I mean I love the latest album. I will say that, but I really prefer the middle of the road stuff like Good Morning and Crimson. I mean, somewhere between like the old stuff and the new stuff. But yeah, just the old albums. I mean, Matt sounds like he's dying the whole time. His voice is pretty bad. And then just the whole production isn't that great, and that's always been something that's important to me. So I don't know. I've listened to the older stuff. I just don't really think it's amazing. That's just my opinion. Next question. I've never played any of the SEs. I do hear good things about the SEs. A lot of people rave about them, about the amount of quality you get for the price. But I haven't personally played any of them. I imagine the pickups are pretty decent for what are in there. But if you did want to upgrade, Seymour Duncan's got some good pickups you could put in there, like a JB or distortion. I just put a distortion and jazz into a Telecaster for my friend, and it sounded great. It wasn't a PRS, but I imagine it would sound pretty good. And there's tons of bare knuckle pickups that I know would sound great in there, like the Juggernaut. Juggernaut would sound amazing in a PRS, I'm sure. I might even end up doing that sometime in the future. So I don't know. I'm sure it would be, you'd be happy with it regardless. Next question and final question. Where we're at for New Found Glory right now, I fucking despise that last album. And frankly, I'll never know if it's because Steve left or it was just a coincidence. But I'll give him a chance for the next album. I'm definitely going to check it out. But if it's a bummer like this last one was, then I'm pretty much going to call it quits for anything New Found Glory for, after whatever the last album they did was that I liked. What was it? Radio Surgery. I mean, that one wasn't amazing by any means, but, it was not bad. There's so many people that fucking loved Resurrection, and I know why, but I will never ever say that I love it, because they took the easy road and, they made it sound like almost everything else in the genre. And I know I've mentioned this plenty of times before. any of the songs on that album could have been written by any fucking band out right now. And frankly, it's just not a unique sound anymore for them. You know, the first few albums they did, the first like 7 albums or whatever they did, sounded great. You know, whether it was, you know, the self-titled album or even Coming Home, where it was a huge departure, but you know, it was still, they were still doing a good job of making it all work. And you know, Steve was their main songwriter, and I really felt that New Found Glory suffered from him leaving. And you know, those younger pop punk obsessed kids will fucking take anything that's got a high pitched singer and some simple guitars and, you know, happy songs or whatever, talking about ex girlfriends and pizza and whatever the fuck else are in those damn songs these days. So I mean, I'll give them another shot, but since that album came out, I got rid of them on my my social media. Like, I just don't care to see their constant updates, you know, about the new album. And I know they redid some of the songs, that they came out with like a deluxe edition of the new CD. Someone asked me what I thought about that, and I'm just like, oh, they're just making the songs even worse than they already are, probably. So I don't know. I mean, like, Ready and Willing is got to be one of the worst fucking songs I've heard in the past 2 years. I mean, it really, honest to God, is. And having a bunch of other people from the genre come and play on it isn't going to save it, you know. A bad song's a bad song. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being an old fucking bitch. I don't know. But washed up, I don't necessarily think that they're washed up. I just feel like, in regards to me personally, they have to win me back, and I don't know, I'm not betting on it. So that's all I got. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you have any other questions, you know, I'll answer them. It's easiest to answer questions for me on Ask FM. YouTube often gives me, if you comment through like a certain way for some reason, I think if it's through Google Plus or whatever, like, I can't answer a lot of questions. So if I feel like an asshole because I'm technically ignoring them, but I can't answer them. So if you want to ask me any other questions outside of, you know, this video, feel free. And maybe I'll do another Q&A in, you know, a month or 2 or whatever. You know, we'll see. If I end up doing one, I'll post a video like I just did a couple days ago asking for questions. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, that's all I got. See you later. Thanks for all the good questions too. You know, I know one of the guys was saying, fuck all these Blink-182 questions, but a lot of the questions were pretty varied, and, you know, I felt like a lot of the questions were good. So I enjoyed answering them. So thanks again, and thanks for watching. You know, you guys don't need to watch my videos. I realize that. So I definitely appreciate the support. So thanks a lot. I'll see you guys later.